Happy Monday, everybody. So great to see you. I'm live here, obviously, and I can't wait to interview Savannah Green. She's going to be joining in, and we're going to get to talk with this amazing young dancer who will. Let me move this. There we go. So please welcome Savannah. Yay!
Hi, Christine.
Savannah, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. So good to see you.
Oh my God, it's so great to see you.
We're coming. There's a lot of good news happening in the world. So, let's stay positive. You've been doing an extraordinary job. I can tell from so far away, I
Oh, thank
tell
you.
you so this lunch break is a chance for everybody in our audience to get to know you, to get to, see what drives you and your passion and all that sort of beautiful thing. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you and when did you start dancing?
So I started dancing really young. I was obsessed with the movie Cats. We had this VHS of it, and I watched it nonstop all the time. And I would always try and, slink around. And so my parents were like, "It's time. She's got to get a little, a little trained." So I started probably when I was like 3. Never stopped. Uh, Kept doing ballet. I started at Ballet Academy East in New York City.
Hmm.
And then I moved to Manhattan Youth Ballet, also in New York City. And I went to high school at LaGuardia High School, where I was able to also dance and do academic stuff. And there I got introduced to modern, which was like
Yeah.
crazy. I had just been doing ballet my whole life. Then I continued my modern and contemporary life. I went to college at UC Santa Barbara,
Hmm.
and then graduated, moved back to New York, got my dancing legs again, and found my way into the BalletX scene, which was a dream, and the dream has just continued to get better. So
Oh
now
man.
I'm here.
How does it feel? Um, to have something that you've dreamed about like come true and like you really were in the trenches of, you know, going from college to a professional career and, the uncertainty. So just give us a little background and how you handled that and kept yourself motivated and what you did.
um, I was really lucky. I still continue to have the best support system. My parents always helped me put dancing first and always encouraged me to try different types and see what kind of feeds the dancing soul. And then when I got to Ballet X as a dance fellow, um, that was, I got to learn some of the best work and work that I had been dreaming about for so long. So that was really helpful to stay motivated because the pieces are hard. So every day was a challenge, and obviously there's ebbs and flows, but at the core of it I really felt strongly about this contemporary ballet world that really allowed me to tap into this ballet thing that was always really close to my heart, really close to my growing up, and then this newfound kind of power and other ways to explore yourself.
Hmm. Yeah, that's fantastic. It sounds like, well, this marrying of two things that you're really passionate about, ballet and modern. And when I was younger in high school, I had to take modern, and I was like, oh, I was in art school. I was like, I just want to do ballet.
Right.
So it was really interesting. And I never, once I became a professional, it actually helped me. It helped give me a platform in the classical realm because I was versed in modern
Right.
and had, trained in it. And it just gave me an anchor. So it's so interesting to hear that you're melding both these, styles. And, you know, I know it was challenging at times being a dance fellow because you were the inaugural member as a dance fellow. And, you stand around on the side a lot and you're learning ballets. It's basically like being a poorly paid professional understudy. Now you're a company member, so we'll talk about that in a second. How did you stay motivated? Like, where's the carrot at the end of the stick? How do you encourage others to, keep at it, because that's what impressed me so much with you. Like when it seemed like it might turn a corner that wasn't, you know, the best corner, you like dug in, and the way you dug in, my eyes just, went, whoa, I
Thank
need her.
you.
What
Yeah, it was difficult.
yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, it was hard.
yeah.
But my brain was always on fire because I was learning 5 different tracks in every ballet.
Mhm.
Um, and I think what really flipped the switch for me was when Nicola Fonte was there choreographing Steep Drop before.
Mhm.
Um, and I remember so clearly the first time I felt like I was seen, and he was like, "Oh, like you're really getting it."
Mhm.
And I was like, "Oh my god!" Like I was kind of putting on my one-woman shows on the side, and like wasn't sure what was going down, if I was even doing it right. I was kind of flailing. I wasn't sure. But to have that one moment really like flipped a switch, and I was like, "Oh, I can do this. It's not just like I'm swimming endlessly." And of course, having like all of my friends who I became so close with who were in the company were always really encouraging. Like I just remember people saying like, "Wow, like you look great. You're doing like a whole like Sav ballet over there." Um, but yeah, I mean, to work in a place with like such amazing choreography and such passion and rigor, you kind of have to keep going, no matter how hard it gets. It's like still got to strap on the boots and go for it, you know.
Yeah. I think that's really like the message that's so important, that just you may think something's not going in the direction you want it to, but if you keep pushing and you keep your head to, straight forward and down to the ground, your work ethic, it could shift, and you never, know what the future will hold. But if you really hold your values of hard work and passion and commitment, the universe is watching. So
Yeah,
kind of always like take note that the universe is,
yeah.
you know, you're an incredible artist. Like I've also watched you, pour into, you're discovering so much about yourself, which I think is so interesting for everyone to hear.
Hmm.
Um, Talk about how you're elevating your technique along with elevating your artistry. How do you do that?
It's interesting you say that. I've really found being in quarantine really strangely helpful. I feel like I've gone into like this cocoon and I'm like starting to emerge in my butterflyness. It's weird. I mean, I'm quarantined in this beautiful lake house with my parents, so I'm surrounded by nature and we have bald eagles flying over and it's really like gorgeous. So I don't know, I was really sad. And then I was like, why don't I just use all this beauty around me? So I've started to kind of channel like touching water and that kind of texture change. And it's also helpful that, like, on one hand, it's sad, but no one's watching.
Mm-hmm.
So I can kind of explore and kind of figure out my footing and not be nervous that like someone important is watching. So I can make choices that are more authentic and not trying to fit into some cookie cutter idea of what people might think a contemporary ballet dancer might be. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been nice to kind of cocoon for a little. I mean, I'm ready to come back out, but
I,
um, it's really like a chance to, I don't know, find new emotions, new textures, that kind of thing.
yeah, that's so beautifully said. I mean, I think that it sums up a little bit. I mean, that's a contradiction, but that that you take lemons and make lemonade, right? That's what I love about you and all of the dancers in BalletX. That it's like you've got to figure out always. You're gonna get these mountains in front of you. Like how
Mm-hmm.
to climb it? How do I get stronger to climb over that mountain? To be close to what I want to be in this world, right? Which is an artist, which is a dancer, which is a loving, advocate for good things, and so I am watching.
I know.
I have seen you, blossom, and I can see it through these odd like screens. I see the work you're putting in. And I mean, it's not about me seeing you, but it's little glimpses in life and how you handle, you know, the obstacles, I think is what defines people. Talk a little bit about the moment that uh, you, you know, we had our chat that Friday morning, wasn't it? I was like, let's
That
do Friday
that
morning.
Friday, yes, February 28th. I remember it clearly. Um, you know, it was funny. I was kind of out of sorts. I walked in. I remember I was on the phone with my mom. I was kind of having a rough morning. And then you were like, hey, can you come up to my office? And I was like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. I don't. So I kind of sauntered up there. And when you gave me the news, it was the furthest thing from my mind. I had no clue. So I started crying because I was like, you know, when you don't, I had no idea. I had no clue that this was like brewing. I was kind of going about my life, like auditioning for different places, seeing what else is out there. And then I was like, oh my God, it's my home and it's my forever home now. And it like, I don't know. I love being there so much that it just felt like almost like a crater where I was just like, this is now my space. I can be me. I can do everything and I can like really root here. So, and then telling my mom, I called her immediately after. I was like, oh my God. And I just started crying and I heard it in her voice. She was like, oh my God. And it was just such joy. And I was like, I've never felt, never, never felt like that before. It was like my dream literally unfolded in front of me. And I was like, it was really startling. And it was like, I'm getting chills thinking about it now. It was just like the best Friday. And then we tried to rehearse after. And I was like, I don't even, I can't, but I'm trying. And I'm still like on the side, but like, I won't be soon. So
Yeah.
that was the best day of like my life.
I'll never forget that. That was an amazing day for me too. I mean, amazing just that being a part of BalletX could bring someone that much joy is just like, you know, my second work. Other
Yeah.
than my career as a dancer, like
Right.
create something that will last, hopefully, knock on wood, well beyond me, but, you know, that can be a part of young dancers' futures and places where they can aspire to be a part of. So it's like extraordinary. Do you remember when you fell in love with BalletX and where were you and
Oh yes.
what was it that you loved about it? Tell us.
So I remember when I saw Blast Glass for the first time
Mm-hmm.
um, in at the Vail Dance Festival. I believe it was 2014, and I had never seen anything like that in my life. I was like, I didn't even know like you could do that in point shoes. Like I knew like contemporary ballet, but I didn't know it was like what struck me was just every one of the women had such finesse and they were still these powerhouses. Like I remember seeing Andy, I had no idea who she was. And I was like, I want to dance like that. Like that is, her feet are so perfect and she's still like this animal. And I was just like, oh my God, that's exactly what I feel like inside. And I still watch Last Glass and I still feel that. And I someday hope to be in it.
Yeah.
But ever since then, so that was 2014, and now 6 years later, it's in my actual sphere, and I just to feel like I've achieved that in a sense, and that there's still so much more to go. And I remember the first thing that one of the first things I said or thought after you told me the news was, oh my God, I'm about to get so fierce. Like I'm gonna do all these ballets, and they're gonna be so challenging and crazy and like you know, just get to find all these new parts of yourself. And I think that's the marriage of ballet and this contemporary modern world. Just that's the perfect, it felt so like me, like I could never give up being a ballet dancer. I could never give up my modern self. So I really felt like all of it happened in front of me in Last Class. And I was like, whoa. And then the music is so beautiful. I was like crying. I didn't even know what was going on. It was just beautiful. And so now we're here.
That's awesome. Now, this year you did get to perform with BalletX. Um,
Did.
you were going to perform and performed in December. That was really the first time, right? Tell us
Yeah.
about that. You performed in Matthew Neimans' 12 Bells.
Yeah, that was amazing. I loved that experience. It was really challenging. I remember him choreographing the holiday party, and it would not stay in my body. It was just so like detailed and crazy. And I was like, once I finally got it, I was like, oh my God, this is great. And I was learning it on the side, had no clue that I was going to perform it. And then when it was finally time to perform, I've never been so nervous in my life. And yet I was just so excited, and I felt so supported. And it was like the first time I kind of discovered like the power of my eyes, I feel, because all of that whole ballet is about connection and lack thereof. So I was able to like look in Rod's eyes, and I was like, oh my God, here we go. We're dancing. We're doing it. Like I'm on stage with BalletX and the Wilma. Like it was just all really happening. And it's such a unique ballet. All those costumes are so like quirky, and it just felt so like, I just felt so great.
Doing his work is Matt's choreography is extraordinary. I mean, he takes like the most normal, like if you're just touching your eye, and he'll make it a part of the dance, which I mean, he's a brilliant choreographer. And so to do these like, mundane things, and just like, that you feel not only like you're trying to complete a double or triple pirouette, but then you're just trying to make dance out of our simple gestures, that we do. And so, and then when you performed it the second time, you did it twice, right?
We did one kids show and then one performance.
Right.
Yeah. But I really felt
the second time you performed it a little bit more, or the show was the second time. Yeah.
But I always loved, he was always so encouraging of like our selfness. Because I was stepping in for not stepping in, but I was performing Skylar's part. And I kind of found myself mimicking a lot of what she was doing. And he was like, no, that's not Sav. Use your Savness. Do this. He's like, that's her. That's great. But you're you, and you're on stage now, and we want to see you. And I was like, oh, yeah. Because I was so used to filling in for other people, and fulfilling their tasks. So it was interesting to be given this like license to be, you, which is also parallel to what I felt when I found out I could be in the company. I was like, oh, it's me. I'm not stepping in to fill someone else's part.
Right. Talk about college, like your journey in college. Did you want to dance in college? What, talk to college kids. What were lessons learned, or,
Plenty of lessons. So I went to UC Santa Barbara as a dance major, kind of just using it as like, I love dancing still. I just wanted to keep that part of me. And I really loved the dance department there. I loved the opportunities. I got to do nutcrackers and that kind of thing. So it really fed my ballet self. But I really discovered my love for political action. So I minored in poli-sci, which I discovered, I think it was my junior year. And then so I kept that up, and I loved that. So that always kept me informed, which I loved, and then challenged, and I had to articulate why I felt the way I felt about certain issues. So it taught me a lot about how to like speak, which is hard for dancers sometimes. So that was, I'm so glad I got to experience that. And then in my senior year, we had a senior company that would go on a European tour, performing a bunch of works that had been set on us. And we were really lucky. We did a Jose Limon piece, a piece by Andrea Miller. So we were challenged and on tour, and I was like, I got one taste of that. I remember it was April of my senior year, and I was like, oh, just kidding. Politics is fine, but this is where I need to be, where I want to be. And so ever since I graduated, or for my last half of my senior year, I was like, I'm going to be a dancer. It's going to happen. And then when I graduated, moved back to New York, lived at Steps on Broadway for a little bit, and then kept pushing until I made it to your sphere again.
Yeah. You worked hard. You worked your tail off, and it takes that. It really does. again, that idea that, mentioning what you're saying in quarantine and how you're working and you're finding, it's that like peeling of an onion, like peeling and peeling, but getting to the core of the work. Like, I say this to BalletX dancers, like the universe is always watching, and just like, and you're watching,
Right.
you're watching. So if we put everything in, good things will happen. And it definitely, and you have to make good choices too, like the way you work with people and sort of, if you want to show that you're committed to an organization, there's ways that you do that, to try to impact your future. Because remember everything, right? Not everything, but all exchanges and sometimes decisions are made in split-second moments. Not that mine was to how I thought about it. It was not a second decision, but just like giving advice out to the folks following, that all of our exchanges together are really important, because directors have a lot of people that they're looking at. And so, they want to work with people who want to be with them and are positive. And you're so many things. And I just can't wait to see you, with the company, not on the side, but in the sweating and growing and evolving. It's going to be extraordinary, and we're gonna get there, together. So right now, with BalletX, you are rehearsing, right? Virtually, you're working on. What are you working on right now?
So we started working with Rena Butler on her piece. Been having a lot of discussions about the Underground Railroad and the history that goes along with that, the emotional things that go along with that. So that's been really eye-opening, and as uncomfortable as it can be, like, it's really wonderful to feel so kind of open and vulnerable with all these people that I've now come to know, and now I'm starting to see different facets of how they think, which, is really like wonderful to see, and it's hard to share, so that's been kind of a mountain that we're taking on together. I had one rehearsal with Penny, and we learned a little phrase, little cowboy action.
Yeah, you get a cowboy hat.
And that I loved. It was the first time I've really had to learn from a film. We got this film of a phrase to learn, and I was like, oh God, like, I don't even know. I haven't really had to do that. I've always been in the presence of the choreographer, and I also see how the other dancers take in the information. So we learned it, we filmed it, we put it up in this Google Doc, and I was kind of scrunching around like a little squirrel, seeing everyone else's interpretation. And I was like, whoa, you lose so much when you're not in the room with people, but it's also important to take it in on yourself, right?
Yeah.
Kind of, the blinders are still kind of important. So that was interesting. And then we did a little thing with Kylie. I don't know if that's on the horizon, but I loved that. That felt like coming home. To hear her voice and to kind of see her movement again. I was like, oh my God, I miss. So that was wonderful. That was like a little love project. And then I just did a little thing with Andy for the Saunders space, which Zach and Blake are in charge of. We made this really beautiful little video, dancing in isolation. I'm kind of dancing with myself against a wall. And I loved doing that. I loved working with Andy. I never really worked with her in that capacity. She's always been someone I look up to, obviously. But it was really nice to kind of work with a friend and make something I'm really proud of it. Really, I think it's beautiful. So we've been keeping quite busy.
Yeah, we've been keeping busy. That's a little bit normal.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Savannah, it's been extraordinary getting to talk with you, even though we're not together. I can't wait to be together.
Oh my God.
I think we're coming out of the storm in carefully. And we're going to do this carefully. And we're going to get to share you with everybody very, very soon. you know, you're a beautiful person inside and out. Working with you in the theater is like, and the studio is extraordinary.
Thank
And I
you.
just can't wait till this next chapter. And I've gotten to know your mom and your family. When we bring in a new dancer, a whole new family comes in and we just grow. And so I look forward to growing with you through the years and just being a part of your family as you are a part of ours.
Thank you. We're all so excited. Nonstop celebration here.
All right. And have a great afternoon. Have good rehearsals. And thank you so much for being a part of our lunch break.
Thank you. I miss you.
Miss you.
I'll
Love
see
you.
you soon.
Bye.
Bye, Christine.